Everything you experience in this world is but a reflection of your inner state. No one has power over you unless you grant it through your thoughts and reactions. The world, like a mirror, only reflects what you assume to be true. If you find yourself angered or bothered by another, it is not they who disturb you, it is your own consciousness, externalized. But the moment you awaken to this truth, you reclaim your power. You are not at the mercy of the world is at the mercy of your state of being. The world you see before you is not separate from you. It is a grand reflection, a mirror that faithfully returns to you the contents of your own consciousness. Everything you encounter, every person, every situation, every word spoken to you arises from the assumptions you hold within. If another angers you, if someone's words cut deep, it is not because they possess any power over you. It is because within you exists a belief that permits such an experience to unfold. You may think the world acts independently, that others move and speak of their own volition, but I tell you, there is no other. There is only self, externalized and made visible through the grand theater of life. When you understand that your reality is but a projection of your inner state, you realize that to change your world, you need not wrestle with shadows, nor seek to alter others through force or persuasion. The only change required is within. If you find yourself angered by another's words, pause and ask, what belief within me has summoned this scene? What assumption have I carried that allows such an event to touch me? And if you do not like what is reflected back at you, do not blame the mirror. Change the image you are projecting. Imagine standing before a mirror with a frown on your face. Would you scold the reflection? Would you demand that it smile first before you change your expression? Or would you recognize that the image is but an effect and that the true power lies in your ability to shift yourself? The same law applies to all of life. The world cannot bring you anything that does not first exist within you. It may appear that others act against you, that circumstances arise beyond your control, but look deeper and you will see these are only the outpicturing of states you have once entertained. There is no injustice in this world, only the law unfolding perfectly. If you assume that people are cruel, inconsiderate, or unkind, life will show you those very faces. If you carry within you an expectation of conflict, you will walk into a world that proves your assumption correct. But just as easily, if you assume harmony, if you hold steadfast to the idea that others are kind, that life is effortless, and that nothing can shake your peace, then this too will be faithfully reflected. Nothing external has power over you unless you consent to it in imagination. You could be in the presence of one who shouts, who seeks to provoke you, who throws their words like daggers, and yet, if you remain unmoved within, if you see them not as an enemy but as an actor playing out a role that you yourself have assigned, then their words will have no effect. It is your reaction that sustains an event, that gives it life and substance. Without reaction, it fades into nothingness. To never be angered or disturbed by anyone, you must take full responsibility for your world. This is not a burden, it is the greatest freedom. For if all is within you, then nothing is beyond your control. If you find yourself irritated, you need not plead with another to change, nor seek to avoid those who offend you. Instead, turn inward. Ask yourself, what must I believe for this to have appeared in my world? And having found the answer, change it. Assume the feeling of already being undisturbed, of already dwelling in a world where all things work in harmony with you. Hold to this assumption, and you will find that those who once provoked you either transform before your eyes or simply fade from your experience altogether. You are always in control, for control lies not in force, not in changing others, but in the mastery of your own inner state. When you assume peace, the world must rearrange itself to match. And when you understand that the world is nothing more than your consciousness externalized, you will walk through life untouched, unmoved, knowing that no one has power over you but you. Every person you encounter, every situation that unfolds in your life is nothing more than an aspect of yourself pushed out into the world. The people who frustrate you, the ones who seem to challenge your peace, are not separate from you. They are playing roles in the grand theater of your consciousness, acting according to the script you have written. whether consciously or unconsciously. You may believe that others have independent power to harm, disturb, or anger you. But the truth is, they can only reflect the assumptions you hold within. There is no one outside of you acting against you. There is only self, expressed in countless forms. If someone speaks harshly to you, if they offend you or seem to mistreat you, understand that they are merely fulfilling the role you have assigned to them in your reality. This is not to say that you consciously wish for mistreatment, but somewhere within you exists an assumption that permits such interactions to occur. Perhaps you believe that people are unkind, that the world is hostile, or that you are frequently misunderstood. Whatever belief you hold, life will organize itself to validate it. And until that assumption is changed, you will continue to meet people who confirm it. Most people believe that their reactions are justified, that others are responsible for their feelings. But this is a great illusion. You do not react to others, you react to your assumptions about them. If you believe someone to be cruel, you will find their words offensive. If you assume they are inconsiderate, their actions will appear to prove you right. But if you change your assumption, if you begin to see them as kind, understanding, and harmonious, either they will change before your very eyes, adopting the qualities you have assigned them, or they will fade from your experience entirely, no longer playing a role in your reality. You have never met anyone outside of yourself. Every encounter is a reflection of your inner world. The person who irritates you is not an independent force acting upon you. They are the mirror of a belief you hold. When you grasp this truth, you stop seeing others as the source of your discomfort and begin to see them as valuable teachers. They reveal to you the assumptions you have carried, the beliefs that shape your world. And once these beliefs are identified, they can be changed. Instead of reacting in anger, pause and recognize what is truly happening. If someone provokes you, do not blame them. Instead, turn inward and ask yourself, what belief within me is causing this to appear in my world? What assumption have I accepted that has allowed this scene to unfold? The moment you take responsibility for your reality, you reclaim your power. No longer do you need to struggle, argue, or attempt to change others. The only work to be done is within. If you persist in seeing someone differently, if you revise your assumption about them and hold to this new belief, they must conform to it. You do not have to tell them, nor do you need their permission. Simply assume them to be kind, loving, and understanding. Hold to this assumption with faith, and you will witness the world reshaping itself to fit your new vision. Even those who once seemed difficult will either change or leave your experience, for they can no longer play a role in a reality that no longer sustains such assumptions. This is the great secret. Others are not separate from you. The angry boss, the rude stranger, the friend who disappoints you, they are all yourself, pushed out, reflections of your state of being. When you truly understand this, you no longer seek to fight or resist the world. Instead, you turn inward, knowing that the outer world is simply responding to the inner. The power is always yours, for as you change within, the world must follow. And when you assume harmony, peace, and understanding, there will be nothing left to disturb you, only a world that mirrors back the peace you have cultivated within. You do not have to react to the outer world. The world is not something happening to you, it is something happening through you. Every person, every circumstance, every word spoken to you is merely an expression of the state you occupy. When you remain anchored in your chosen state of being, the world loses its power over you. The secret to never being angered or disturbed by anyone lies in understanding that you are the master of your own consciousness. Nothing and no one can shake you unless you permit it. Most people live as slaves to their external circumstances. They allow the actions of others to dictate their emotions, believing that their peace is dependent upon the behavior of those around them. But this is an illusion. It is not the world that disturbs you, it is your reaction to it. The moment you stop reacting, the moment you step back and observe without attachment, you reclaim your authority. You no longer play the role of one who is at the mercy of the world. Instead, you become the master, the creator, the one who chooses how reality unfolds. When someone speaks against you, when circumstances seem to challenge you, understand that you are under no obligation to react. The urge to defend, to argue, to justify is nothing more than a habit. one that can be broken the moment you realize that true power comes not from control over others, but from mastery of self. When you refuse to react, you rise above. You become untouchable, free from the chains of emotional turbulence. You see the world as a dream where every character is playing a role and you remain the director, calmly guiding the scene according to your chosen state of being. To detach from the world does not mean to withdraw or avoid life. It means to move through it with absolute authority, knowing that nothing has the power to disturb you unless you allow it. It means standing firm in a state of peace, observing but not engaging with anything that contradicts your chosen reality. If someone comes to you in anger, do not join them in that state. If they accuse, if they demand, if they seek to provoke, remain unmoved. See them not as an enemy, but as a reflection of a past state, a state that no longer holds power over you. And without your reaction, they will fade. The world will always test you, not because it seeks to harm you, but because it is merely responding to what you hold within. If you still carry within you an assumption that people can hurt you, that they can offend or disturb you, then life will show you evidence of that assumption. But if you decide once and for all that you are sovereign over your emotions, that you are untouched by the shifting waves of the world, then nothing can move you. You will remain steady, unshaken, watching as the world bends to match the peace you hold within. The key is to observe without attachment. Do not label an event as good or bad. Do not assign meaning to the words of others. Simply see, recognize, and choose. If something arises that does not align with your desired reality, do not engage with it. Do not feed it with your energy. Instead, turn inward, reaffirm your state, and know that reality will soon adjust to match it. This is true detachment, not avoidance, but mastery, not resistance, but quiet confidence in the knowledge that you are the only authority over your experience. When you understand this, you become immune to the opinions and actions of others. You walk through life undisturbed, knowing that no one has power over you but you. You do not react because there is nothing to react to. You do not fight because there is nothing to fight against. You simply remain as you are, calm, centered, sovereign, and the world, seeing that you are no longer moved by its illusions, will have no choice but to reflect back the peace you have become. If someone angers you, if a moment arises that disturbs your peace, you must not dwell on it. To replay the scene in your mind, to justify your anger, to recount the offense to others, this only reinforces the state that created it. But there exists a simple and powerful method to dissolve any undesirable event from your reality. If you wish to never be angered or bothered by anyone, you must learn to rewrite your past in consciousness, for what you hold on to in memory shapes what you will continue to experience. Everything in life is a projection of your assumptions, and when something unfolds that contradicts your ideal state, it is an invitation not to react, but to change it in imagination. Instead of reliving the moment as it happened, go within and see it differently. If someone insulted you, imagine them speaking to you with kindness. If they ignored you, imagine them acknowledging you with warmth. If a conflict arose, rewrite the scene so that harmony replaced discord. And as you do this, feel it to be real, knowing that in the unseen world of consciousness, this new version of events has now taken root. You may believe that the past is fixed, that what has happened is beyond your control, but I tell you, nothing is ever set in stone. The past itself is fluid, for it exists only as memory, and memory is nothing more than imagination. Change the memory, and you change its effect on your present and future. Most people are bound by their past, carrying old wounds, holding on to grudges, replaying injustices. But those who understand the power of revision free themselves entirely. They do not allow a single moment of disharmony to remain in their consciousness. They rewrite their experiences at will, and in doing so, they reshape their reality. If you react in anger, if you feel disturbed by someone's actions, do not let that state linger. As soon as you recognize it, pause and revise. See the scene as you wish it had happened. Do not accept the version that disturbed you. Create a new one. As you practice this, you will notice a remarkable shift. People who once triggered you will either change in their behavior or disappear from your world altogether. Relationships that once held tension will soften, and circumstances that once repeated themselves will fade into nothingness. For what you revise within, life will adjust to match. This is the secret of true freedom. No event has power over you unless you allow it to remain in your consciousness. And just as you would not leave a stain upon a treasured garment, do not leave an unwanted memory within your mind. Cleanse it, reshape it, make it harmonious, and then let it be, knowing that reality has now conformed to your new assumption. The more you practice this, the less you will find yourself disturbed by anything at all. You will know that no matter what happens, you can always revise, always change, always align your world to match your ideal state. If you commit to this practice, you will become unshakable. You will no longer fear difficult interactions, for you will know that no mistake is permanent, no offense is lasting. You will carry no burdens from the past, no lingering resentments, no unresolved tensions. Every night before you sleep, review your day and revise anything that did not align with your desired reality. Do not allow unwanted moments to solidify. Soften them, reshape them, and rest in the knowing that what you hold in imagination will soon become your waking experience. And soon you will find that revision is no longer needed, for your world will reflect only peace. You will no longer encounter conflict, for you will no longer carry the consciousness that invites it. Others will no longer disturb you, for you will no longer hold within you the assumptions that allow for disturbance. You will move through life untouched, free, knowing that no moment, no person, no event has power over you except the power you give it in imagination. To be free from anger, to never be disturbed by anyone, you must assume the state of one who is already untouched, unmoved, and at peace. The world does not create your inner state. Your inner state creates the world. If you wish to move through life unbothered, you must begin by embodying that version of yourself in imagination, for imagination is the only reality. Right now, you may believe that your reactions are natural, that they are the result of external events. But what if I told you that every moment of frustration, every time you feel wronged, is simply a reflection of a state you have unconsciously accepted? Your reactions are not caused by others, they are echoes of the state you occupy. Change the state, and the echoes cease. Imagine for a moment a version of yourself who is never angered, never bothered by anyone. Picture this version of you moving through life with ease, completely sovereign over their emotions. No insult can shake them, no rude comment can disturb them. They see the world not as a place of conflict, but as a dream in which they are the creator. Instead of reacting, they observe. Instead of feeling attacked, they understand. Instead of resisting, they remain still, knowing that the only reality is the one they assume to be true. This version of you already exists. It is not something you need to create. It is simply a state that you must step into. And the moment you assume it to be your reality, the world must conform. Those who once provoked you will either change in their behavior or disappear from your experience entirely. Situations that once disturbed you will no longer arise, for you will no longer carry the consciousness that invites them. Most people live reactively, allowing the external world to dictate how they feel. But the truth is, the world is always following you. It is an obedient servant, reflecting back to you what you assume to be true. If you assume that people can upset you, they will. If you assume that the world is difficult, it will be. But if you assume that nothing can disturb you, if you persist in the state of absolute peace, then life will have no choice but to reflect this back to you. You do not need to fight your way to peace. You do not need to struggle to overcome anger. You simply need to assume the feeling of already being undisturbed. Step into that state as if it were a comfortable garment, wear it as your identity, and the world will mold itself around your assumption. Those who once annoyed you will seem different, not because they have changed, but because you have. And in truth, they were only ever reflecting your state back to you. Each morning, before you step out into the world, take a moment to embody the state of complete inner mastery. See yourself as already being, above all, irritation, already living in a world where nothing can move you from your center. Walk through the day with this assumption, and you will notice how different the world appears. People will respond to you differently. Situations that once tested your patience will now pass by unnoticed. And in time, you will come to realize that anger was never necessary, that frustration was never required, that the only thing ever needed was a shift in state. You are already free. The world does not need to change, only your perception of it. And the moment you assume yourself to be above all disturbance, life will align to match your assumption. Others may rage, they may criticize, they may seek to pull you into their turmoil, but you will remain unmoved, untouched, sovereign. For you will know the truth. The only reality is the one you assume to be true. And when you assume the state of divine indifference, of absolute inner peace, nothing in the world can shake you.